I think that theater teaches empathy, and I think one of the things we're missing in today's society is empathy for each other. And the idea to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, what better way than to actually pretend to be someone else?
She's a lady. Whoa, 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 she's a lady. Talking about that little lady.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Just Us Grown Up Girls. Today we have a wonderful woman who always shows up. Her name is Heather Arters. Hi Heather.
Hi.
So good to see you again.
Thank you.
I just want to give a little brief on you. Heather is the Performing Arts Director at Garnet Valley High School, where we are today on a nice quiet Saturday morning, we hope. And she is also the English teacher and curriculum coordinator at the high school as well. So on top of that, she is a wonderful mother, and she is going to tell you a little bit about her 3 grown children.
So my stepson Matt is a teacher at Avon Grove Charter School. He teaches technology and film videography, and my son Jake, who is a Garnet Valley graduate, is also a graduate of Temple, and he's working at a pharmaceutical company. And then my daughter Megan, a Garnet Valley graduate, is a sophomore at Temple, and she is on their rowing team and is studying to either be a physician's assistant or a teacher. So
she was not on a rowing team before college, was she?
no, she was on the field hockey team and the indoor and outdoor track team. And when she got to Temple, they had a table set up at Temple Fest that said, "Are you an athlete? Would you like to join another sport?" So she tried out, and they had 60 some kids try out, and she made the team. She's a coxswain. So she did a great job last year. We were really proud of her. It was a sport she was unfamiliar with, we were unfamiliar with.
Right.
They went to the American Conference Championships in Oklahoma. They won the Dad Vale in Philadelphia. She went to Massachusetts and raced against Harvard and Radcliffe and all of these. We just couldn't believe it. So she had a really good time.
See that? You try something new and it just tumbleweeds into something great.
She's had a great time with it.
Yeah, it's
So.
amazing. Okay, Heather, the plays at the high school are always phenomenal. And since you are the woman at the helm of these plays, I would love to know, how does it work from the time you decide on which play to do until the time you get to that stage performance?
So about a year before we present shows, we actually look at the talent pool that we have and who's going to be there next year, who's graduating. And Krista Thomas, who is the choral director, and Ray Crozier is production assistant, we make a decision, and Gina is our choreographer. We make a decision on who we have, what they can handle. And then we also have to look at the cost. A lot of shows are really expensive, and we are funded by our ticket sales, so we have to keep in mind whether we'll sell enough tickets to justify what we're going to spend. So we look at that first, about a year out, and then we apply for the rights. We get the rights, we put a deposit down, and then the following, we also plan. So we'll plan whether it needs to be in the fall or the spring, and what the set budget's going to be, the costume budget. And then we audition the kids. And normally, this year for Hunchback, we actually auditioned in June because we wanted them to have the entire summer because it's very difficult music. But normally we audition in September, and then we have practices 6 days a week, and sets, which are done by my husband and his friend Russ, and then all of the dads and moms that come out and help, and the kids. They're Saturdays, so really the Performing Arts goes 7 days a week. We have a lot of actors that come out on Saturdays to help, so they are there 7 days a week. So we also have a lot of student athletes, and they'll go to practice, and then from practice they go to our practice. So some of the kids are there at school from 7:30 in the morning until 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Wow, it's such a commitment.
Yeah, so I'm very lucky. I have really good partners, and So we have a great team, costume moms, props, sets. We have all of that is done by volunteers. All of those committees, concessions, the posters, and the community is great. We have some people that get our advertisements up on the sign on 202, and a local alumni does that for us, and or alumnus, and it's a real big community. Like, everyone is involved.
It sure is.
So,
Yeah.
but we do that from September through, this year we did a community show, so we did it from September through July. So we had the July and August off. And then actually not even. We start next Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday we have a boot camp and a leads practice. So we had July off and like 3 weeks in August. So you have to love it.
You do.
Or you can't.
do. So you have 3 plays a year?
We do. So for most of the time that I've been doing it for 16, 17 years. We had 2 shows. When I first started, it was a play, like a straight play in the fall, and then a musical in the spring. And we got enough students interested in the music part that we moved, about 4 years into my doing it, we moved into a musical in the fall and a musical in the spring. And then about 10 years into it, we started doing what we called a varsity show. And it was a little bit more mature content, a little bit more difficult material. And we did Rent, In the Heights, a chorus line, and might be missing one. And we had the kids that were really wanted, because we have about 200, 250 kids that participate. And then the varsity show was about 40. It was the kids that this was really their thing and this is what they wanted to do. So then we were struggling though with that because it was smaller and there was a smaller cast, and it was being held at the end of April, beginning of May. And as I told you, rights are expensive, just trying to recoup the money. So we decided last year that we would sort of push the varsity show into a community show, which is what we did this year. We did Mamma Mia, and we had, I think, 100 community members on stage, and then another 30 or so behind the scenes. And the kids that would have been in the varsity show, the seniors and the juniors, they all participated.
Well, I must say, I did not get to the real play of Mamma Mia in June, but I did watch it on YouTube. And I don't know if I told you, but I've seen that show on TV, the movie, and we saw a production of it in Las Vegas. And only yours made me cry. There were some parts that seemed so emotional to me.
Yeah, we worked hard on that.
Yes.
Because it is kind of a silly show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to be fun, and we wanted it to be fun. We had lots of scenes that were fun. But I always feel like theater should be sort of an exploration. It shouldn't just be entertainment. It should be an exploration of issues that are important. And as somebody who's turned 50 this year, the empty nest, all of that, to me, the part of Mamma Mia that spoke to me is when she has to send her daughter off, she thinks, to get married. And so I focused on that relationship. And I do think that we managed to make quite a few people cry.
Yes, I couldn't believe it. In my dining room on my computer, I just couldn't believe I was crying over it. But I wanted to mention that you did put on a regular production with the high school students, and then you had this alumni production, which I couldn't believe the people who were in the play. There were older people, there were recent graduates.
We did.
Before you say anything, I just want to mention that Heather Arders right here, played the leading role of Donna, and her daughter, who graduated last year, played her daughter in the play, Sophie. So I thought that was so beautiful.
It was a lot of fun. With us, it was an entire family affair because my son was in it. My husband, who hates to be on stage, actually got in it. We had, I think our oldest person was 80 something, and our youngest was 6. And it was an entire community, and a lot, as you said, a lot of alumni. was a lot of the boys that we had in Les Mis, my son, Ron, Ray, they all came back to perform in it. So it was a lot of fun, and seeing people that I hadn't seen in years.
Yes, that is
So, and a lot
cool.
of parents and kids were in it. Like Ron, who played Sophie's love interest, his mother was in the show, and then a couple of the kids that we had in it, their moms were in the ensemble. So it was a chance for a whole bunch of Garnet Valley families to get to be on stage together.
It was so cool, and the fact that these people commit, they leave their jobs early, or they take a few months off to come practice for this play.
Yeah, they did. We had 3 practices a week in the evenings after dinner time. So most of, I would say 99% of them worked all day and then came out for the practices. And just the commitment. We just did a Mamma Mia reunion performance at the Corn Boil that Bethel has every year.
Okay.
And just seeing the enthusiasm even when they showed up there, it was just, that's why you do it, because theater can be transformative. So you want to bring people in. So it was a lot
Did
of
you
fun.
do a little singing and
We
dancing?
did. Our oldest member of the cast was like, we have to do Dancing Queen. I was like, I got you. We will do Dancing Queen.
Yes.
So, but we ended a lot of the practices at the end with Dancing Queen because it was the ensemble's favorite song. So we'd have a few rough dance practices, and then I'd be like, you can do this, So
That's so neat. So that was a township picnic.
yes,
So,
and they
yeah.
all showed up. Yeah.
so cute.
They all showed up and
Yeah.
were doing their dance. So and it was funny because our choreographer was like, why didn't you guys practice before you went? I was like, calm down. It was a corn boil. We're okay.
So I'm just thinking about the commitment for all of these young students to go to school all day, go to practice every night, sometimes also play a sport. What do you think the benefits are for all of these young people now and in their futures?
Well, I think part of it, I think it's a twofold question. One of the benefits, obviously, is there's a core group of them that just love to do this, and for them, getting on the stage and singing and dancing is what they really want to do. For another group, this is where they find their people. This is where they find where they belong. And I feel like we really push that everybody is accepted. And in the future, I think it definitely, the commitment that you have to make to be willing to do that and to keep your grades up and all of that, I think says a lot about what you're going to be like as an employer. The last thing is, I think that theater teaches empathy, and I think one of the things we're missing in today's society is empathy for each other. And the idea to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes, what better way than to actually pretend to be someone else? So, and they get to play parts that they never would, parts with ethnicities that are different than theirs, or sexual orientation that is different than theirs, or people that are poor versus people that they get to play all of these different things, and I think it teaches them how to be empathetic. So that, I think, is important for employers, and then just the ability to have the confidence to speak out in front of people with an audience.
Yes.
So,
And they'll have to do that in the future.
absolutely.
Meetings or on stage.
In any environment.
Right. So getting back to the empathy, I never realized it until I raised my own children, that empathy, people are not born with empathy. It's something you have to be taught through the years by your parents, by the people around you. So the fact that you do that in the plays is
For
such
sure.
a reinforcement.
And I think too, like, we lose empathy as we get older if it's not reinforced. If you're not modeling the behavior that everybody has worth, both as a teacher, as a parent, as just a regular member of society, then I think kids, I'm a firm believer that kids learn what they live. So I think if you're always empathetic and you always show that you think everyone has worth, I've always believed you treat the janitor the same way you treat the CEO.
Right.
And that's because that janitor is just as important, and then oftentimes more important,
Yes.
than the CEO is. So, and that's what I have hopefully raised my children to believe. I believe that they behave that way.
Yes. I'm so glad we talked about that. So Heather, I'm really interested in you. How did your interest in performing arts start? And take us on a little journey through your performing arts career.
So my first performance that I can remember was I was an angel in the school Christmas pageant. And I was placed on a chair with hay all over it. And we later discovered, and I have discovered, I'm allergic to hay. So my original performance was not my best.
Not happy.
Because I just kept lifting my feet up and scratching my feet against my legs because it was itchy. But from then, we had a children's theater. I grew up in Ocean City, Maryland, and we had a children's theater, and I performed in that theater. Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, Aladdin, Wizard of Oz. I performed in all of those. And then I auditioned for the movie Annie. And I went to Philadelphia, and one of the people that I spoke to there told my mother that I should go and audition in New York for the Broadway show. So I did that. The first time that I went, the line was wrapped around the building. It was on the news that they thought there was 2,000 little girls there. And Martin Charnin, who was the director at the time, who just passed away, walked around the block and said, "You go in, you don't. Thank you. You go in, you don't." And he quite literally picked based on look and took it down to my memory is that he took it down to 200 people. I'm not sure how many he took it down to. So then we went in, I auditioned. Peter Gennaro was our choreographer. He's, for people that are into Broadway theater, he's a very famous choreographer. He worked with Fosse and all of that on Pajama Game and all those kind of things. He was a dancer and then a choreographer. And then the music director was Charles Strauss, who also wrote Pajama Game. And so they had you do a vocal audition and then a dance audition. And I did not get the part that time, but there was a manager in the audience, and she contacted my mother and asked if I would come in and do television commercials in New York City. So I did that. I did Chips Ahoy, Pringles, sliced cream, ice cream, Jell-O, pudding pops. I did a whole bunch.
1 and 2 and I've got the fever for the flavor of a Pringles. The fever for the flavor of a Pringles? It's the deep fried taste, it's the crispy crunch. At Pringles, please, I need a bite. We got the fever for the flavor of a Pringles.
When it came up, another audition came up, I went again. And that time it was an invited audition because by then I had an agent. So I actually showed up and I didn't have to wait in that. They call it a cattle call. I didn't have to wait in the cattle call. And I got the part that time as Pepper in the Broadway touring company. So my mom and I went, and we went all over the country for 7 months. Lived in New York for a while.
How old were you?
11.
11 years old.
And my mom owned a daycare center with her friend Betsy. And she took a break from doing that, and we went all over the country. It was the old vaudeville circuit was our tour, so the theaters were gorgeous, and from the 1920s and 30s. But I saw places in the country that I never would have seen. We were the bus and truck tour. So we would finish up a show, and they would put us on a bus and drive all night to whatever the next.
Oh my goodness.
And we used to sleep, but I don't even know if buses still have this, but the buses had like a thing that hung down from the ceiling where you put your luggage. Well, that's where we slept, up in the luggage rack.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
What an experience that
Yeah.
whole thing must have been.
Oh, it was. And when we were in Madison, Wisconsin, we were there Christmas Eve, and they had a famous, Madison is famous for their snowstorms. They had a huge snowstorm, but they didn't cancel the show. Broadway almost never cancels.
Not like here.
Yeah, not here.
3 inches.
And or everybody shuts down. Yeah. So they, the Teamsters, who were the people that were in charge of moving the sets on and off the stage, the Teamsters got sleds and took us on sleds to the theater. And I will forever remember that Christmas Eve, because here's these big burly union guys, right? And they have like ropes and sleds, and they're like singing Jingle Bells, as they take us. And none of us were with our families. I mean, I was with my mom, but I wasn't with my grandparents, and they were missing their kids. So to them, and one guy had even one guy had even put bells on himself so that when he was pulling, he was making noise. So, and that year when we got home from that show, they had set up a huge Christmas tree, and they had an Annie cake, and they had all of that. So yeah, it was quite the experience, and interacting with people that I never, ever, especially at 11 years old, especially in Ocean City, Maryland, would have ever come into contact with.
Right.
So speaking of empathy, I think it taught me theater people in the early 80s were quite a group. So there's not much that can shock me. I mean, when you're 11 and there's guys like singing Patsy Cline in wigs and scarves, and yeah,
Right.
it definitely opens your horizons.
Oh,
to-
that's so fun.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And think about, we went through Chattanooga, Tennessee, and somebody burned our bus and like wrote nasty things all over, and just even being exposed to that, you know, just not that I'm disparaging Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm sure that there's bad people everywhere, but just being exposed to that. And we had all these kids, a full orchestra, like a 30-piece orchestra, the Teamsters, the 30 adult actors, 2 dogs. Like, it was quite the
Oh my
menagerie,
gosh.
like,
And did
traveling.
you have a tutor on the bus?
We
Or-
did. We had a
Okay.
woman who was a teacher, and she was a certified elementary teacher. She did have to create lessons and stuff for us, but a majority of it was stuff that our schools had sent.
This is just a whole different world that most, I don't want to say normal, most children live, you know?
It was
Yeah.
quite an experience for, I mean, we were in New York when it was the gritty, like early 80s, before it got cleaned up, and I know New York very well now. Like, I can walk all over Midtown, but back then it was definitely a different world.
Thanks for sharing all that. Okay, Heather, it must take an unbelievable amount of energy to teach all day and then go right from that to practicing and leading all of these people through this production. How do you do it?
I find it really hard to sit still, so it's actually tailor-made for me.
Okay.
But especially with the kids, it used to be more difficult when the kids were little, and they used to have to hang out there, which was good for them because they had 100 older brothers and sisters, and they got to see examples of how you can make a schedule and make it work. But for part of the year, we have the practices directly after school, and then we're usually finished by 6 or so.
Okay.
And then in the fall, because of athletics, we have the practices at 5:30. So I have an hour break in there, and I usually go home, put something in the crock pot, and then Jerry and I eat dinner at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. But I have a really good team. If there's ever a time when I don't feel well or I don't feel like coming in, I have people that fill in. But I just find it fulfilling to do that. So, and I don't know what I would do. People have said that to me, what are you going to do when you retire? I have no idea, because I don't think I could sit still all day long. I just
Now-
like to be doing something.
Do you have a hard time sleeping at night?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm one of those people that I lie down in bed and then I think about, what I should have said 20 years ago to someone, and everything replays, and I'm awful. Yeah. So, and I replay conversations, and I think about, I don't think I paid that bill tonight, and yeah. So I definitely, once I get to sleep, it's good, but I have trouble falling asleep.
Do you have any tricks? Do you take melatonin or count sheep? Or
I do count. I actually try and count backwards, and normally I get through 100 to 1 3 times before I actually start to get tired. But even that, I'll think to myself 79, 78, and then I'm like, wait, was I on 88 or 87? Yeah. So even that can be a problem. Now, interesting, when we go away, when most people say I can't sleep on vacation, when we go away, I sleep like a stone. I could sleep through anything. But at home, yeah, the cat walks past the room and I'm awake.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that you do take vacations.
Yes, we
because
do
you
take
certainly
vacations.
need them. I've seen you around the community at sporting events, at productions. I've even seen you in a magazine. One thing I've always admired about you, Heather, and it's one reason I wanted to interview you, because I've always noticed that you have such a strong family unit. You always seem together. The kids always seem to be happy and helpful. How do you make that work?
Well, when my husband and I got married, however many years ago that was, he had a son, Matthew, and I always believed that, you know, the first 22, 25 years of your life is about you, figuring out who you are, what you want to do. That middle 25 to 50 should be about your kids and your family. And we both agreed. We took our kids. When we went out to dinner, we took our kids with us. When we went to a show, we took our kids. When we went on vacation, we took our kids. And so they've always been with us. And I don't know that, I mean, no one is happy all the time. I do think that they know and believe that we care about them. We flew to Oklahoma for Megan's conference. We have tried to attend every single one of their sporting events, every single one of their shows, because it's my belief that that's your job between 25 and 50. Because what other more important job could you possibly have than making sure that you're raising good human beings? And I truly like my kids. I like hanging out with them. They all have very different personalities, and you know, Jake has more of my sarcastic sense of humor, and people don't always get him or me. And Megan has that like compassion that her dad has, but she also has the anxiety and like the never being able to sit down that I have. And my stepson Matt is just awesome with social justice and technology, and we tried to give them experiences. I mean, and people talk about this a lot nowadays. Do you have things or do you have experiences? And we tried to give them experiences like museums and going to Washington, D.C. and Williamsburg. And we would save up money like every 3 years and go on a big trip, like to Europe or to Canada. And we only did Disney. We only went to Disney once in all of their, not that I'm cutting up Disney, I think it's awesome.
Right.
But like we always tried to do things where they learned or we learned. And I think, I mean, we just got lucky too. I mean, we always made sure that our kids participated in things. So all three kids, my stepson did roller hockey and bowling. He had some interesting interests. But he also played baseball. And, you know, Jake did the reading Olympics, math Olympics, and football. Football was always Jake's big love. But he even did the plays. I pulled him in when I did Les Mis because I was like, I desperately need you. And when he first started singing, I was like, oh my God, he can actually sing. I just needed a body, but like, okay, he could sing.
How about that?
And then Megan played, you know, sports year round, and then also did the plays, and all of them were in student council. And I think we just, Megan and Jake were the school board reps, so they would go to the school board and talk about the school. So I always tried to get them to take full advantage of what the school had to offer. And I think they are genuinely good people. Like, I think they're concerned about others, but like you said, I mean, no one's ever happy, no one's ever good all the time. It wasn't that we never had any problems.
Right.
I also really tried I made a decision when they got to be, and thank God for my stepson, because I kind of had a practice before and he would admit that oftentimes I was practicing. And I was always very real with him. He used to be the most persnickety kid. My tag is itching me, or, you know.
Oh.
And he tells this story. One day he was like, I don't know, 6 or 7. And he's like, I don't want to wear these shoes. And he had like one shoe and I had the other shoe. And I flung the shoe at him. And he like was like, oh my gosh, you threw a shoe at me. And I was like, stop complaining. You know, so I was never the perfect parent, for sure. But
we all have our moments.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So, but I always tried to make sure that they felt like they could come to us. And even if I tried to make sure that our values were clear, but that they understood that they could come to us, especially about things that all teenagers encounter and all teenagers have to deal with. And I always wanted to know. I said, I always want to know. And I promise if you tell me, I won't judge. I just want to know. And so I do think that helps them not be scared. And I think after teaching for all the years that I have, and that's really why I came to the decision, I decided I wanted them getting their advice from me. and not from their peers and not from other adults who may not share the values that we have. So I don't know whether I was a liberal parent or a very hard disciplined parent. I'm not sure. I think I kind of walked a fine line of that, in that there were specific things I was very much, I don't want you to do this, and this is why. And then there were other things that, to me seemed kind of arbitrary. I always used to say to myself, will this matter in 20 years? And if it didn't, it's not going to matter in 20 years.
question.
How I handle this is going to tell them how to parent.
Right.
And that's not to
Yeah.
say, there were times when he or Megan would come home with grades that were not what we expected, or, and there were punishments and all that, but a lot of times, instead of there being like an arbitrary punishment, I always wanted to talk about it.
Right.
And Jake to this day will say, oh, do we have to talk about it? I'm like, yeah, we have to talk about
Yes.
it. So, but I think the most important thing you can do from teaching all the years that I have teenagers and from parenting them is to let them know that you should be their first stop and their second stop and their third stop, and that no matter what they ever do, you will always care about them.
That's so great.
So, and as I said, and being easy on yourself. Like, we all make mistakes. We all have times when we're not in the mood. And you have to be
Yes.
easy on yourself and easy on them. That's the other thing I think too, as a teacher, and teachers and nurses and doctors, school psychologists will all tell you this. When your child does something and it reminds you of somebody who was like really messed up, and you think because they did that they're going to turn out to be this like horrible person, knowing that one mistake does not,
Right.
a lifetime make,
Right.
is important
And we
too.
learn from mistakes.
Absolutely.
Kids have to go through mistakes. And it's great for them to do it while they're young, so they
I
learn
think
how to
that-
solve problems.
And don't you think, I think as moms, we're harder on each other and ourselves than anyone else is. I don't
yeah.
know how many times I'll see moms be like, did you see what she let? And I'm always like, you don't know what's going on in that house.
Right.
I think as moms, we need to be nicer to each other and stuff. Just in general, we need to stop
Definitely.
being as judgmental as a society.
Absolutely.
But I think as moms, we need to support each other,
Yes.
because it's rough.
It is. It's hard.
It is hard, and you have no idea whether what you're doing is the right thing or not. Right, and it's usually not, and this has been one of the hardest lessons for me to learn, and even at 50, I try, and I've said it to my kids, but it's hard for me to accept that sometimes it's not about you. So sometimes when someone is not treating you well, it has nothing to do with you. It's something else that's good, because I take everything personally. And it's you try to teach your kids not to do that, and then you find yourself doing it.
Right.
So
Do you find that you're changing as you get older? Do you take things that personally? anymore?
I am taking them less personally, but because I think I put more effort into everything that I do, because I have the time to put it in, because I'm not a full-time mom now. I think you do, when you've tried really hard to do something and do it well, then it becomes more personal. But I think the one thing that 50 has allowed me is accepting myself for who I am, trying.
Yes.
And, I cannot be everything to everyone.
Right. And the fact that you said when you put so much into something, you put your heart and soul into it, that's enough. I mean, you should be happy with yourself, and if anyone has to question it, you don't need to explain it. I mean,
Absolutely.
You're confident in your own self and your own decisions. That's how I feel.
Hopefully. Right. I mean, and that's the goal, but I think we all, especially people that do things, even like what you're trying to do here, I think when you have empathy and when you think about other people a lot, you assume that whatever it is, the way they're treating you has something to do with you instead of them. And that's a hard thing to learn, that not always. Sometimes people are just, that's who they are, and it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Heather, if there was a play about you, what do you think the title would be? And do you think it would be a drama, a comedy, or something suspenseful? And who would you like to play the leading role?
Well, I think all of our lives are a combination of drama and comedy. Dramedy, I think that's what they call it, yeah. A title, not finished yet, or
Good one.
that's not what I meant. But who would I like? Well, when I was younger, everybody always thought that I was Meg Ryan when I would run into people people in New York and LA and all, they always thought that I was looked like Meg Ryan.
Wow,
Though
what a compliment.
Right?
Yeah.
I used to have blonder hair. But the person I think that is the most me personality-wise as an actress is Helen. I think her name is Helen Hunt. But I would still, I guess, say Meg Ryan. She and I both have the crazy curly hair.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think in equal parts drama and comedy. Most of the time, the comedy comes when I have not wanted or expected it. I think a good title might be Sometimes You Just Have to Laugh. So.
Great. That's awesome. Okay, Heather, have you thought about legacies you would like to leave to your family and the people you care about?
Well, hopefully for my children, they know and have that little voice inside their head that they know what I would have said at any of their questions or times. For the school and the community, I really hope that the kids feel that I gave them 100%. Even if they didn't get the part they wanted or the grade they wanted, I hope they know that it was because I cared and wanted the best for them and for the production. And I hope that I've left a legacy with a whole large group of kids of how to work really hard for something that you want and how to be a member of the team. And like you and I said, empathy. I hope that I think people joke that I am tough and that I'm not an empathetic person, but I think they know deep down inside that I'm the person that you could call and I would answer if you needed someone.
Yes.
I may not be.
I'm learning that, yes.
I may not be the most like, oh, it's all going to be okay, sweetie, but I am the, okay, what do we need to do to get this fixed for you? So hopefully that would be the legacy. And on a lighter note, yes, I hope that I have inspired thousands of children to, like, when they're driving in the car, listening to show tunes, to think about what we created here and how it's important to accept everybody in your life. So.
Wonderful. All right, Heather, I have some quick jab questions for
Okay.
you. Name one thing you need to finish.
This interview.
Oh, God.
We managed to stretch it out for a while. No, I'm just kidding. So that's something I finished. Just kidding with you. I have been writing curriculum this summer, and now we're really down to the wire, and I need to finish writing that. So.
Okay. All right. I like that answer better. Name one thing you need to stop doing.
Always worrying about what other people are thinking.
Okay. Name one thing you need to learn.
To sometimes take a breath, and it's okay to not be busy and read or stay calm.
Great. Name one thing you need to fast forward.
Where I think that everything that has happened in my life has gotten me to this point. So, and when you get to be in your 50s, it's all going fast enough that you don't really want to fast forward anything. So.
And name one thing you need to rewind or do over.
Again, there are many times that I have thought about, I wish I had made a different decision then, but then you wonder whether who you are now, would you be that person if you had made that decision at the time? So even some of my worst mistakes, I always try and at least comfort myself with the thought, maybe that's what gave you sympathy for this person in this situation, or maybe that's what allowed you to pull in that scene that made people cry, or, you know, so.
Name one thing you need to forgive.
I tend to forgive people easily. However, I'm Scottish and Irish. I don't ever forget it. And I've told my kids that. I always think you should forgive someone, especially if they made a mistake that was unintentional. But don't ever forget what they did, because, you know, when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. So I don't think that I need to forgive anyone that I have not forgiven.
Good. Name one thing you need to organize.
Well, this summer Megan and I spent the entire summer organizing the house. And then last week I spent the time organizing my classroom. And we even had a production meeting this Monday where I said to the entire production crew, I want to be so much more organized this year. So I think I've tried to put some organization into all aspects of my life. We'll see whether it works.
Congratulations. And name one thing you need to plan for your future.
I just want to make sure that I can retire. I'm sure all of us want that, especially with the volatility right now that's going on in the markets. And also I just want to plan to be able to be comfortable enough that I can help my children with my grandchildren, and that I can travel and enjoy things when I do actually retire.
Terrific. And I have one final question. Finally. Say something nice or true about yourself. I am blank.
I am exactly who you see.
I agree. I'm so glad we had a chance to talk because, like you mentioned earlier, I really thought you were a little stricter and more closed, but you're so warm and open
thank you.
and loving, and I appreciate you for sharing yourself with me and everyone else.
When I think it's what we talked about, I'm often just very busy and thinking about something else, and I think we oftentimes think that that's the person's not interested, and then quite often there's just a lot of other things going on. So,
Well, especially with you. Thank you for all that you do for the community and for all the students here in Garnet Valley. You're just remarkable, Heather.
well, don't you think we all are? I mean, look what you're doing for the community and this, and I think it takes all of us.
Yes, we all are, but I think you go above and beyond.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll see you. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you learned a few things from this special guest. Remember, we all have gifts to use and share. My purpose is to invite you to take some action on the ideas and inspiration of each woman to make a difference in your own life and on those around you. Please like the Facebook page and subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. I know it's so annoying to find that darn password, but then you'll get a whole catalog of the Just Us Grown Up Girls interviews. Thank you, and I truly appreciate you.